everybody and welcome back. We are here for week 28 of the Altered Index 2025 challenge. This is a challenge that I'm running in my Facebook group, Non-Stop Papercrafts, and of course here on my channel. If you are after any further inspiration, then I suggest you check out the Non-Stop Papercrafts Facebook group because lots of people are posting their cards in there. Also, if you search for the hashtag Altered Index 2025 on other social media platforms, you'll be able to see other people's takes on these prompts as well. If you are new here and only just finding out about the challenge, you can download this prompts list from my Ko-fi shop. I have a link tree down below which links to my Ko-fi shop. If you go there and if you search in the shop for index, then you'll get this year's list. You've also got last year's as well if you're interested. You certainly do not need to catch up. You can just jump right in from this video. So as I said, this week we are on week 28 and the prompt for this week is night. So I have gathered a few things together. I don't think this card is going to take particularly long, if I'm honest, but hopefully it's going to be a little bit of fun. So I've gathered some dark blues here because obviously I want to make my night sky. And then to add stars, I was considering just doing some splatters of white, but I've got these jelly roll pens, which I've had for ages, if I'm honest. But I haven't really used them. One of them's not jelly roll, it's non-brand, but it's the same kind of thing. And they're in different sizes, so I thought, well, I could use those to add little dots in the background. I've then got this moon shape die. So I've cut out my moon. And then what I might do is just lightly blend in a yellow on this, just to kind of give it a bit more of a glow just around the outside. And then to sit on my moon, now I have got a little rabbit that's kind of sitting. I think it came with a stool for the die. But then I noticed I've got this die, which is super cute. These two little mice are just so gorgeous. And that's a Carnation Crafts die. So I had that and I thought actually this little fella on the back, he looks pretty cute. So I've just cut him out. I do actually need to just trim a little bit down where his hand is, where he's kind of holding onto the bike. So I just got to trim that little bit off. But I thought he might look pretty cute sitting on the moon as if he's like looking up into the sky, and then I'll obviously add whatever sentiment I'm going to add down at the bottom. But yeah, so to colour him in, I've got my vintage photos. I'm going to make him a little brown mouse, and then I've dug out a pink as well, so I can do like the inside of his ear, his nose, and maybe his hands and feet. But yeah, like I said, it's probably not going to take too long, this one. It might be a bit of a quick one, but hopefully it will look really cute and effective. So I think I'm going to start with my night sky. So I'm just going to move some bits out of the way, just so obviously we are able to blend properly. I'm just going to move these dies. And then, as I said, I'm going to start with my blues. So I'm going to start with the lightest first. And I'm going to start in the middle with the lightest one. Now I was thinking of having my moon shape stuck down, but then I thought actually I want to give it a little bit of dimension, so that's why I'm actually going to keep it on the white card. I was just going to use it as a kind of stencil at first, or a mask I think they're called, isn't it, when you don't want that image kind of coming through. So I was going to do that, but then like I said, I've decided to give it some dimension. I'm actually just going to stick it on. Right, so I've got that blue, and then I'm going to add a bit of this darker blue around the outside of it. Oh, she says, I don't think there's any ink on this one. Nope, I think I might need to throw that one out, maybe get a different one. Okay, I've got this Memento Nautical blue, so maybe we'll use that one instead. That's a bit better. And don't worry, I will blend them together in a minute. I know it looks a bit of a mess at the moment. So you just kind of apply the colour first, and I am going round in kind of a circular motion. And it doesn't matter that if some areas are darker than others. I'm going to be adding that darker blue in a minute anyway. So just Getting this blue down first. Okay, and then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put the lid on that for a minute. I'm going to come back in with the lighter blue and just kind of, again, blend it in with that darker blue that's on the outside. And just start bringing those two colours together. Oh, I seem to be shifting about a bit. Okay, well, that'll do. Then we're going to bring in the darkest blue. And then this is going to go around the outside. So this is almost a black. Now, these are very old ink pads. So some of them I think are a little bit dry. Yeah, I don't think that one's working very well either. That's another one that's going to go in the bin. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to bring in just this little non-brand black. Oops. And just bring that into the corners. And I'm just kind of going over, I'm going to come down the sides a little bit as well. And then what I'm going to do in a second is then come back in with that darker blue. And then as you kind of go over the black, it's then obviously going to just make it that bit darker on the edges. Okay, so we've got some black in there. I think I'm going to come in with the Memento just because this one is a little bit darker. That's better. That's kind of what I was going for. This mat keeps twisting. It's supposed to be a non-slip mat and it's sliding all over the shop. Okay. A little bit more. And I'm just going to slowly circle it and bring it back into that middle, like so. Then we're kind of getting that night sky now. Right, that'll do. Right, so, inky hands already, that's fine. So now we've got that, I think I might just wipe down my mat. Right, I'm going to pop that back down, and then I'm going to use, like I said, these jelly roll pens just to kind of put little dots here and there for the stars. And it doesn't matter if some of the dots are bigger than others, brighter than others, because obviously that's how it is when we're looking at the stars. And I am just every now and then bringing my pen off, and I'm just putting it on here. Obviously I can wipe this off on here, but it's just where I'm obviously getting ink from here onto it. That just allows me to wipe it off a little bit. And obviously stars aren't even, so it doesn't matter if I've got some close to each other, some a little bit further away. I I'm just randomly dotting. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Okay, as it dries, I might go back over it if I feel like it's faded a little bit too much. Okay, so now that we've got that, I'm just going to move that to the side. Let that dry a little bit. So we've got our moon. So I did want to use a yellow and just dust it a little bit on the inside. Not too much, just a little bit. So I'll put a little bit on, I think, and then I'm just going to slowly brush in the edges. Now it won't look like much at the moment because obviously it's a white cardstock, so you're not going to see too much of the yellow on there, but as soon as you put it onto the blue in a minute, you'll kind of see that yellow hue around the edge. So I'm not going to come all the way in on the moon, just want to kind of give the edge a little bit of a glow. Sorry, my mat keeps moving around, doesn't it? So just coming in at the edge. Like so. Let's put that on there. Right, I'm just going to bring this in for a second just so we can have a little look at how it's looking. Yeah, so do you see what I mean? So it's not quite white anymore. It's like a glowing moon. So that's our moon. Right, let's move those both to the side now. And let's bring in our little mouse. Now here it doesn't matter if I make a mistake on one because I've then got two. So I'm obviously going to layer them so you're not going to see one of them. So let's start by, should we do the pink bits first? Let's do pink. Then that's those done, isn't it? And sometimes it's really nice just to be able to colour with inks as well. I do quite like this. And the nice thing with using a brush is it just feels a little bit softer than if you're using like an alcohol marker or something. And then we're going to have little feet. But I just think this is such a cute little die. I've got a feeling I've used it before. I don't think this year. I think maybe it might have been last year. I used these mice for that, one of those cards. And it's just so cute. Right, this bit's going to be a bit tricky because I've got to try and get into his arm, which is more in the middle of the die. This particular brush does have a bit of an angle on it, so I can just use the tip of the angle. There we go. Okay, so the rest of him is now going to be brown. So let's bring in Vintage Photo. And again, just gives a little bit of a softness using inks and a brush. This is a lovely little task if you do enjoy colouring, especially if you're not particularly great at colouring, like I'm not really. But this is nice because you can just, it almost feels like you're scribbling. Right, so I'm just going to go around the edge of his ear. Just go over his body a little bit more. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a darker brown out just to kind of create some shadows and things on him. Okay, so that's how he's looking so far. Right, so I'm going to use a ground espresso, which is a darker brown. Oops. Just to create some shadow. So he's going to have some shadow around the bottom of his ear. And it'll be around the bottom of his jaw. Obviously this is where his head is. And if we think where the light is going to be, so if it's the moonlight, it's going to be behind him, isn't it? So a lot of his tummy could be a bit darker. And down underneath his arm. And then maybe a little bit in front of his ear. And again under his chin and the bottom of his nose. And around his eye. So something like that. Just creates a little bit more dimension to him. Right, let's put that away. Okay, now hopefully we finished sliding about all over the shop. Let's trim off this little detail. So that's the handlebars of the bike that he would have been hanging on to. So we can get rid of that bit. And then we can glue these two together. And this just gives him a little bit more dimension. Oh, I like him, he's looking cute. Right, okay, so let's get our starry, starry sky ready. So if the moon's going to be this way, and he's going to be sat on there like that. Oh, yeah, I love that one. That's really cute. Okay, let's get the moon stuck on then. Okay, so there's our moon. And then he's going to sit there. And then just where you've got that lightness in the middle, it just almost makes him glow a little bit, or look like there's a little glow behind him. I'm just going to lay him on roughly where his bottom is, on there. I think he looks super cute. Right, so the last task then is to add a sentiment. So I think I'm going to dig out my good old faithful, that sentiment book that I use. So I'll be back in just a second. Okay, Okay, so I've got my good old faithful, my quote stickers book. Some people have been asking about this book. I believe I got it from either Temu or AliExpress. If you don't like shopping from those types of places, you can get similar books on Amazon as well. I haven't been able to see the same book on Amazon, but I have seen similar ones. So if you type in sticker quotes or sentiment books, sticker books, then things like this will come up. So I have had a little look, and I was toying whether I wanted it in black or if I wanted it in white. But I think, I don't know, does white stand out maybe a little bit too much? Should it be on black? I think on black because it's night. So I've got Dream with Endless Curiosity, which I thought was quite nice. So I'm going to use that sentiment. And I'm just simply going to place it down here, I think. Maybe just underneath his toes, underneath his heel. So that's not in the middle, so I'm going to move over a bit. No, that's still not the middle. That's a bit more like it. And then I'm just going to, once I'm happy, just push it down a little bit more. So Dream with Endless Curiosity. So that is my card for this week. As I said, it was going to come together really, really quickly. I knew it would do, but I think it's a really effective card. So if you remember, this was for week 28. The prompt was night. So I've got my night sky, I've got my moon, I've got this gorgeous little mouse looking up at the sky and the moon, and Dream with Endless Curiosity is my sentiment. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope that you have enjoyed this particular challenge. I would really love to see your cards, so please make sure that you are posting in the Facebook group. If you have enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate a thumbs up. Please also feel free to drop me a comment. If you are not already a subscriber, I would really love for you to do so. Please make sure that you're also clicking that bell button. That way you are notified of any new crafty videos. As always, I thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you all in the next crafty video. Bye for now.